KCAA.com. Southern California's Inland Talk Express is KCAA.
Live and in color from the NBC News radio broadcasting studios of KCAA, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM, located in beautiful Southern California and in parallel from the Turfs Up radio studio in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Thanks for tuning in to the Water Zone show this evening.
Well, good afternoon, wherever you are. Good morning, good evening, depending where you are in this wonderful world. Thanks for tuning in to the Water Zone Show. I'm Rob Starr, along with Miss Toro Malali and Miss Chris Austin, and I hope everybody's doing well. And if you're in a hot place, try to keep cool. If you're in a cool place, you're lucky, as maybe you're going to get some rain and such. But welcome to the Water Zone. And Tara, how are you today?
I'm doing wonderfully. I'm enjoying the weather out here. I know that I know it's pretty toasty in some other places, but I get to benefit from that. I won't brag too much. Letting that go. How's everybody else doing? How's Chris doing?
Hey, it's pretty toasty up here. Yeah, you always got to tell us how nice and cool it is on the coast, but you know. We got an El Nino brewing, a super El Nino, a mega El Nino, depending on who you're talking to. That may change things for you on the coast. So, you know, you may be swimming around and we'll be sitting up here saying, yeah, no flooding around here, you know.
Can it blow over to Arizona?
Yeah, it might, you know. These are these big storms. They just, you know, who knows? They sure are pumping it up though. The article in the San Francisco Chronicle this morning is, you know, statistics like 90% chance of above normal precipitation, and it's got all kinds of charts and you know and
yeah, and there are some coming to you.
Yeah, and we also have this unprecedented ocean heat wave going on, and so that's kind of in the mix there. So if we get hit with a lot of precipitation, you know, that could be very, very challenging. But it kind of reminds me, you know, there was a few years ago where they called it the Godzilla El Nino, and everybody said, "Oh no, you know, the big El Nino," and Southern California actually had a pretty dry year.
Well, see, I think that was a scam by the people who make umbrellas, because with all these droughts, they're not selling many of them. So they conjured up this story about a big atmospheric storm coming, so they can sell thousands of their umbrellas.
Yeah. Now we're going to start sprouting conspiracy theories now on the Water Zone.
It'll be viral by tomorrow.
Well, it you know, how many times, you know, when I was living in Southern California, how many times was it they said, "Oh, there's this big storm coming in," and they send all their reporters like down to Santa Monica, and they're standing there and the moonlight is shining and the sea is very calm, and they have to talk about this incoming storm that all of a sudden is not incoming anymore. That's, I think, really have to put your reporter chops to the test in that instance. But
well, you know, maybe
you feel the anticipation of it.
maybe they hung around for a Grunion run. You never know. So lots of stuff happening between the Trump administration releasing some plan for managing declining water flows in the Colorado and
oh yeah, you know, well, the verdict is kind of sort of in, you know, about what's going to happen. They've released the first part of all the documents they're going to release, and this is the environmental impact statement, and it has, you know, basically it has laid out what the cuts are going to be. But another big chunk is coming in the next couple of days, which is going to be the operating plan, which is going to have some more details. But yes, the feds released their document on Friday, and it has been just a whirlwind of commentary all around the basin. Somewhat expected, I think. Arizona is very mad. And the upper basin has, there are no cuts planned for the upper basin. They are just asked to conserve 200,000 acre feet, which is not much per year. So the feds are not asking much of the upper basin, and that is really where a lot of the gripe is. And basically, what's going to happen is that if they've accepted a plan that the lower basin states submitted to cut 1.5 million acre feet for the next 2 years, but if further cuts are needed, they are going to make those cuts, and those cuts will go in the order of water priority, which basically means Arizona, because Arizona has the junior rights on the river, which was the deal that they made when they wanted to build the Central Arizona project. But this is one of those things, deals that you agreed to, 60 years ago so you could put the project in, and now here we are, cuts need to happen, and it's very difficult. Yeah. And that's kind of the crux of the situation, is that so much in the Colorado Basin is a product of, sometimes century-old water law. I mean, these decisions to allocate the river were made literally over 100 years ago. And in the 21st century, so much has changed. The climate has changed. We've had all the building and development that's happened along the river. And now we have to deal with these old constructs that don't really work for us, but that is what our system is. So that's really the very difficult part. Hopefully we have a good winter. Maybe hopefully the Super El Nino will reach over and do well in the Colorado River Basin, but even a good healthy snowpack is not going to really alleviate much of these big cuts that are coming. So
it's almost like a fixed mortgage and a variable mortgage. When they start out, a lot of people take the variable because, hey, it's pretty low. And then 5 years later, from 2%, it goes up to 10% or something. But you're right. I mean, when these things were created hundreds of years ago, they couldn't see what the future was going to really bring.
And they had so much water coming off the Colorado River. It was like, yes, please take it. I mean, the Colorado River would flood, have huge floods, and water in the 1900s. I mean, even in the Sacramento Valley, it was not about keeping water. It was get this water off the land. When they had these big floods in the Sacramento Valley, it's hard. Must have been very hard to envision dry times when all they're seeing is these flooding waters. And, in the Colorado Compact, they didn't divide it up in percentages. They divided it up in actual specific amounts. And that's really been the big problem because, the math just stopped mathing somewhere along the way, and we had what they called the structural deficit, and we just could not ever get it addressed. So it's very difficult when you have to be the one to give up a large chunk of water.
Yeah, no kidding. So, one of my passions is the whole agriculture and water working together in order to make a better, brighter future. So I was fascinated by the 5 key trends that were shaping agricultural water use in California. That was super interesting to me because seeing how much more we're getting for the same amount of water is interesting, because I don't think people really hear that a lot. They sort of just go, agriculture uses a bunch of water, and like that's all they hear. And so that was kind of a really great article. I felt like it was fair and balanced, but showed things.
Well, and that came from the Pacific Institute. So that's actually, that you from the Pacific Institute is not often had nice things to say about agriculture in the past. So it's, I agree. I think that California farmers have really worked, most of them have really worked to adopt efficient practices, and water is an input, and they're businessmen. So yeah. I don't, there are some areas and some places where I think, there was like not good water management for agriculture. But it's not statewide, kind of the thing. So,
but I think like, you said earlier, I think things change over 100 years. And, look at all the technology in residential irrigation. Look at all the stuff that's come into the ag world with what they do. I mean, it's hard to tell what's going to be. I know the water agencies, I believe, have to write plans that go out to 20 years or 30 years. And it's all hyper guess. And as long as they're able to, after a certain year, say they have a 20-year plan, and they say every 3 to 5 years, I'll ask Tara that. Tara, do you have that kind of policy that you can have a long-term thing, but you can also keep renewing it or modifying it as you go along?
I'm sorry. Could you reframe the question? I don't know that I totally understand.
Well, I'll answer. Yeah,
go for it.
I don't think the state mandates 20-year plans, but certainly every agricultural water supplier over a certain amount has to prepare an agriculture water management plan, and all urban water agencies of probably, I'd say, medium size or larger also have to do urban water management plans, and they have to have a plan for drought and how they're going to manage if they don't have water supplies. And we have these new regulations coming in. They're just getting underway to start reporting the Making Conservation a California Way of Life regulations, and this is meant to address it sets a target for every urban water agency for water use in their district or in their area, and you're meant to figure out how to manage to that budget and then reduce water use at certain over time to get more efficient. And it's it's kind of very complex, but the thing
that we have is a groundwater sustainability implementation plan, which is more about project development in order to ensure that we have and are able to meet our groundwater sustainability requirements by 2040, which coincides with our groundwater management agency that we're not. So we're not the GMA, which is what it's commonly referred to for some of our basins. We're part of those. So it's not. That's why I was like, I don't.
So there's a lot of planning, and I'll
definitely
say that there are multiple planning efforts, and I think that it has really paid off. The 2014 to 2015 drought, it was a pretty brutal drought, and there was a lot of pain. when we had the more recent drought, 2019 to 2020 is somewhere in there. We managed it much better because in between the really bad drought, when it was bad, there was a lot of planning. The Department of Water Resources said, okay, you got to plan for drought. You got to have all this stuff in place, and so plus the state looked at other areas where it failed. So, like when wells started going dry, they had a whole system to take tanks out to people's houses and get water deliveries to them. They had other plans to address when domestic wells go dry in the drought, and so they did much better than the 2014-2015 drought, when I think it was Porterville was the poster child for some real suffering. I mean, when a town of not great, a disadvantaged community like Porterville runs dry, that's bad, and people don't want to admit that they don't have any water, because then your house can be declared uninhabitable. So those folks are very worried about that. But so they really did a lot to address those issues, and we weathered it very well, or not. I guess it's hard to say very well, but much better. It went the next drought because we planned.
So let's talk a little bit more about that water equity portion of things, because I feel like that, and I've talked about that a lot, like the idea that there's often access to water at the cost of affordability to water, and it seems like everybody just wants all of the things, and then that doesn't really work. You have to pick a thing. So, and that was one of the things that we talked about, which was advancing water equity in California and the continued commitment from the League of Women Voters. I felt like that was actually a really nice tie into what we're trying to do with Aqua, with the gubernatorial race, where it actually is something that voters are considering and thinking about. It's not something that I feel like should be left on the voting room floor, but it's definitely something that nobody's talking about in a way that would be useful, except for this article, which I was really excited to see.
Yeah, I think Newsom did make it a point to try and do something about contaminated water in the San Joaquin Valley. So definitely, we're working on things.
Well, I see the Public Policy Institute. I guess they came out with a study about growing winter crops, or that you should forage your land using less water. How do you think that's going to play out?
Oh, well, yeah, that study came out. Actually, that's an article on the study that came out about a month ago, I think it was, and where they have just found that there is a possibility to use winter forage crops, if that can survive without irrigation, or very, very little, but over the winter season for the farms that are being cut back on their water, that it could be another cash crop, not a big cash crop, they do acknowledge, but it could be a way for farmers with very low groundwater allocations to be able to earn some extra money. At least that was my takeaway on it.
What crops,
if I remember correctly.
What crops would they go to? If they had to do that? Just curious.
I'm sorry, I can't remember what it was, because, but it was winter forage, type of.
I was thinking in ground. Below ground vegetables and stuff like that.
Oh no, like cattle forage.
Oh,
food.
Okay.
Like something croppy like that, like winter wheat, but I don't think it was winter wheat. I'm sorry, you're asking me. My brain is like a conveyor belt. The information just kind of comes through, and it gets replaced by other things. So.
Is that like Lucy Ricardo when the candy was coming down?
Yeah.
You just skip that one. Nah, I can't reach it. Forget it. Anyway.
She's got all of the bonbons in her mouth. Okay.
Yeah. I know we were talking before the show, Chris, about hacking, and I guess there was 2 incidents this week or the past couple of weeks. One was from a university, another organization, trying to see what they could do to hack and how safe things is. But then there was also another one that the government said that Iran was doing, and I'm a little nervous that I mean, 1,000 miles away, but I guess you can do it with a computer, and like we're doing right now. It kind of scares me. It's terrifying thinking about they can actually shut the grid down. They can actually make the water bad. I mean, and they don't even have to come here. that's a real scary thing.
I'm not sure exactly how much damage they could actually do in a water system, but I think it's certainly.
They can get into SCADA, and that's a big problem because there are agencies who've connected their SCADA to the internet, which they, don't always advise. I'm going to let IT security people handle that conversation. But what ends up happening is because SCADA actually controls what chemicals and how much go into water at any point in time, and that's the concern.
Yeah, their devices that they use is called a PLA. And it's a programmable logic array, and that's easier to get into and try to hack than it is the other. And as Tara said, it's basically the ones that operate the machines and monitor the machines in a water treatment plant, and that's easily done. And technically, I mean, I can tell you that's very simple, but it really worries me that just imagine they shut the grid down, the electrical grid. You can't go to the bank. You can't get gasoline. You can't pump gas. It's dark in the house. Maybe that's a good thing for people, but and then you can't get water, or there's water but it's contaminated because it's mixed wrong. That's pretty scary. I mean, that doesn't cost millions of dollars to make missiles and bombs to ship somewhere. It's just a stroke of a keyboard.
There's really bad B movies that are just called Blackout, just because the electricity goes down and chaos ensues.
Yeah.
So, or think about how scared we were about Y2K. I mean, it's just similar.
Oh, yeah.
Remember what?
Dang, you guys are so cheery. Dang, wow.
Well, you remember, Chris,
welcome to the water zone.
You remember when we had
doom and gloom.
Well, do you remember a couple of months back, or a year ago, we had the Undersecretary of Defense, and we had the people from the FBI laboratory and the hacking stuff. And I mean, they're obviously, the government's spending money on stuff like that, and there are legit stuff. But yeah, it's the same thing with the doom and gloom. I mean, you hear it pretty much almost every year about stuff, but we broadcast to the world that our grid is easy to get into. I mean, I think that's kind of ridiculous, but
yeah, and they've warned about this for years.
Yeah.
I think even under the Biden administration, Homeland Security sent out alerts that you needed to secure your SCADA systems. So.
Well, I remember the news people on the 5 o'clock news. Well, this afternoon, the United States launched a spy satellite over Russia. Gee, why don't we tell them what we're doing? We don't keep secrets very well. But anyway, enough of that.
Well, let's talk more about the whole groundwater modeling into the future, because I feel like that's actually something that's really cool to think about, is how much better we're getting at that. It's been used in a couple of different places. One is the salmon recovery, what that looks like. I know people are kind of looking at that modeling and what we predicted, and then seeing it in action. I know we don't have any answers yet. It's a little bit of I was like, guys, can we wait until we have the results? No, you have to tell us that you're doing it. Okay, fine, whatever. But it's still fascinating to see that kind of level of science that we're doing in order to ensure and be able to predict what the future looks like for water across not only just California, but the rest of the United States.
Absolutely. Anything else, Chris, that you might have? That's
well, I'm looking
everything
at
you write is
the.
important.
well, I know, but I mean, I look at the clock here. It's like, isn't it time for the commercial?
Yes, we can do that. And I'll give a brief commercial, what I always do. For everybody listening, please go to mavensnotebook.com and get the most updated information on water every single day delivered to your, wherever you got a computer, phone, text, whatever. You can get all that information. Fax machine. They still have fax machines around. I don't know why, but we do have them. I don't have one anymore.
We promise it's less doom and gloom there. We promise. It's got a lot more positive stories than we talked about today, but definitely check it out.
You imagine doing the stories with a 600 baud modem from 1980? It would take a half an hour to download 3 paragraphs. So anyway. But anyway, go to mavensnotebook.com, become a subscriber. It's a really neat thing to get, and you'll be more up to tune than anybody else. And you can talk more intelligently to your friends when they tell you all this stuff that's not true. And, that's why Chris keeps me intact. She corrects me all the time, and I appreciate that. So she's a wild woman, so what do I know? And that's woman of water, just for the people listening, and they know what that means. But anyway, do that, and Chris would really appreciate it. You can also be a donator if you'd like. It's a C3, and you can it's tax deductible, and she would appreciate that as well. So, Chris, thanks for joining and giving us some great updates on what's going on, and we do appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
All right. We're going to take a short break, and we got a great guest coming on. He's not only a great guest, I consider him a friend of mine, and I think hopefully it's reciprocal. I think it is, but I got to say that. Anyway, Chris, thanks. And so stick around. It's going to be a really interesting conversation about art and conservation, and we'll mix those two together. So stick around. We'll be back in just a minute.
This is KCAA.
Water is one of the biggest expenses for communities, HOAs, universities, golf courses, and resorts. So keeping those costs under control, especially when rates are increasing while water supplies are being reduced, are often essential to a customer's survival. Managing water requires multiple skills, which is why it's been complicated and difficult until now. AquaTrack brings multiple skills and technologies together to help large system users conserve outdoor water and improve the health of their landscapes. AquaTrack's professionals are certified landscape water managers and certified landscape irrigation auditors. The company offers audit services, upgrade advice, technical expertise, and water use monitoring. We already manage irrigation water for the largest homeowner associations in Arizona, and we're prepared to bring our knowledge and experience to help others, including landscapers and designers. Give us a call and hear how AquaTrack saved one HOA some 430 million gallons of water and $200,000 in annual water expenses. AquaTrack is Arizona-based, and you can reach us at 623-594-8689. That's 623-594-8689.
Hi, I'm Sean, one of the coaches on the training team at Site One Landscape Supply. We're here today to reinforce the importance of wireless rain sensors. Once we've installed the controller and the rain sensor interface, we wire it up, plug it in. Your wireless interface will show all the elements. We are then going to place the battery into the transmitter. Now we can see it's in pair mode, it's flashing, and it's looking for the rain sensor, and I am paired. With the growth of smart controllers, some of us thought we could get away without installing wireless rain sensors. But we need that local data that tells us, hey, it's raining, we don't want to be embarrassed by watering in the rain, or over-watering when our plants don't need it. There are many rain sensors to choose from. To select yours today, come on into Site One or see site1.com.
KCAA.
right, thanks for sticking around. In the second half of the Water Zone Show, we have a great guest, and as I mentioned, he's a good friend of mine. He is the president of an organization called the Weiland Foundation, and we're gonna mix the conversation up about art because Mr. Weiland is a very world famous marine artist, and there's some good things going on with the organization, and we're going to find out what's what. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Steve Creech, president of the Weiland Foundation. Steve, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well, Rob. How's it going over there?
It's doing good. So we're looking forward to having you in today, and I'm really excited about that. Tara and I are really interested in what you guys are doing. I know there's so much stuff going on. We're gonna try to compact this into a series that's going to make it worthwhile for everybody to be listening. So, kind of give me a brief, if you can, just for the audience, what the Weiland Foundation, who is Weiland, and give us a little 50,000-foot scene, and then we can go into some really details.
Sure. I think most of your listeners have probably encountered the Weiland Foundation in one iteration or another, but essentially what our foundation does is it helps people understand their connection to water and their role in protecting it and conserving it. And we do that through all sorts of programs that your listeners may know. Some of them may have participated in the National Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation, which is a challenge with 1,000 mayors and all of their related water agencies to see who can be the most water wise in the sense that they challenge their residents to look for new ways to use water more wisely. And then we've got great prizes for the residents of those cities. Like, we'll pay for their utility bills for the year, and we give away great products from Toro, Home Depot gift cards. And the other thing that we do is we go right into communities with programs like our Clean Water Mobile Learning Experience, which is this massive 1,000-square-foot science center on wheels. And it's all dedicated to how we can manage our resources, our water resources better. And but the main purpose of the foundation is this concept that we all live downstream from one another, and really that's what it's all about. The fact that water connects every home, every school, businesses, our community, and we help people see that connection and understand their role in it.
So I'm super, super excited that you're on the show today. I actually have very personal stories that are kind of tied in. My mom was a huge fan of Weiland's art back when she was alive. And also I've got my Weiland bracelet. I'm a little bit of a fangirl, just to be honest.
Yeah.
I also work for United Water Conservation District, so I feel like I get a pass. I do a lot of water conservation, communication, education, and all of that because I'm the public outreach person. So I'm on a nonprofit board where our mission is to connect people to the land. So you're connecting people to the water, and I'll connect them to the land, and together we'll all be downstream of one another.
Well, I'm glad you're a fan, and
I know.
and the other part of what we do, and I suppose I buried the lead here, is that the Weiland whaling well murals, as most people call them, they're these giant marine life murals all around the world in 17 countries. And you may see them on the Long Beach Sports Arena, which we are repainting for the upcoming Olympics. And in South America, we have murals in Micronesia, New Zealand, and they're all painted as gifts by Weiland to those communities. And the Weiland Foundation puts together, coordinates, and underwrites the cost of those. So our foundation does a whole bunch of ways in connecting with people and getting them to understand that, hey, water is all around us, and it's inextricably linked to our survival and the survival of everything that we hold dear in our lives. So I think it's a big responsibility, but we do it in a very unique and often artistic way. but there's obviously a lot of love and care in what we do, and I think that's really important, especially in this industry where people can get lost in the numbers and in terminology like infrastructure and bond bill or bonds and everything else that goes into providing water to our communities. But the bottom line is that we need to create a society that understands the value of water, and that's really important before we start asking people to make difficult choices about it.
Well, I have a bond on our November election for water, so that's hilarious. But
Yeah.
I would love to hear more about what water agencies are doing to partner with Wyland and what that looks like.
Oh yeah, that's actually probably the most interesting part of what we've been doing lately is that we have been working so closely with water agencies on our Clean Water Mobile Learning Center. And what's unique about this program is that we deliver this exhibit, and it's not a van, it's not a bus, it's 1,000 square feet inside, and we've got 13 80-inch screens inside a movie theater, and they're all choreographed and interlinked. So when kids come in, they learn about watersheds, but they're essentially and effectively in the middle of that watershed, and they learn about their role in protecting it. And then the other half of the exhibit are more touchable, interactive exhibits. We've got a running river inside where they learn about places like the Colorado River and how it serves 40 million people. And there are so many needs and dependencies on the river. So they're actually, in a lot of ways, simulating the decisions that we're trying to get the 7 basin states to agree upon. And you can really see this in a unique way with the kids, that they have a finite amount of water. They all have to work together to make decisions about how that water is going to best serve the people. And it's part of what we do when we're educating them is walk them through those steps. The kids can also make it rain inside and learn about how runoff affects our ocean. But getting back to your question about the water agencies, is that more and more of our visits are either partially or fully underwritten by water agencies and public partners. That partnership between the foundation and our water district partners has been absolutely essential, because we are going to places where they just do not have the resources, and we do a lot of work in San Bernardino. We work with San Gabriel Valley Municipal Water District, East Valley Water District, Inland Empire Utilities Agency, Harupa Community Services District, and so we help underwrite it, they help underwrite it, and that way we can bring that experience directly into communities that may not have budgets for field trips and other needs out there. So I can't say enough about the partnerships that we are doing right now with water agencies, and I hope to expand it.
So it sounds like you need a tour of United Water Conservation District. We're in Ventura. I'm just saying, we're nearby. Just saying.
Yeah, why don't we get together and figure out a way to do it?
Exactly, and then I'll toss it over to Rob.
Well, Steve, one of the things that's important is you bringing programs like the Mobile Learning Center, which is an awesome 18-wheeler truck that's everybody has to go in and look at and touch and play with the stuff inside and learn a lot. But bringing programs like that to underserved schools and communities, why is it important to do that?
Well, all right. For one thing, when we're talking about water, we are actively trying to create that sense of value in the minds of the people that we're connecting with. And the reason why we actually do go out to underserved communities is it really removes the transportation and the cost and the distance and other barriers that a lot of these communities they simply can't afford. And we really feel that a child's zip code shouldn't determine whether they're getting great hands-on science and water education. So,
Right.
We're helping kids understand their own watershed and their community and their ability to make a difference. So the other thing that is really important, and most people may not think about this, but that we're actually introducing young people to an industry they may know almost nothing about. For instance, water agencies, they have local expertise, they have the infrastructure, and of course they have that responsibility for the resource. But what we have and what we do at the Clean Water Center is we have creative ways of engaging people. So, you put that together, and working with a water agency, we can reach more schools, more families. We can make complicated water issues understandable, and we can help agencies get more value from their public outreach efforts and build that understanding of conservation and infrastructure. It's really important because as these young people go through school, they're going to be looking for careers. And I think they really do need to understand that how essential our water services are, and that they really are giving back to the community when they're part of that industry. So when they understand, that this is a huge, complex, vital industry, that water doesn't just magically appear, that they, and there's a need for it. I really do think that that's kind of a key to growing the industry and building a network of young people that do want to get back into it. So that's our role. And, in addition to helping people understand the value of that water, understand the value of the service that's being provided. So, and we all know how complex this is. I mean, your last conversation, that was very clear. We're dealing with issues now that are very complex, and the water agency and the water industry is changing, and there's going to be turnover, and we're going to need to find engaged, qualified people to take over. So. And we're opening the door to that. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. One of the things I've been associated with you personally and through work with the Toro company for over a decade, and thoroughly enjoy it. And I still support you and do anything you ever need. And but why don't you talk about, let the people know what the National Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation is, and who are the winners, and what kind of impact did you see from that?
Yeah, that is a really exciting program, and we did start this just like we always do. It came to us from a need from some cities in South Florida, and people did not understand the value of the water they were getting. The mayors came to us and they said people understand they get it dirt cheap, and they tend to treat it like that. They don't realize that it's incredibly subsidized, and that we have to continue to build infrastructure to deliver it. And so we work together with them to find a way to connect people and break through those misconceptions that people have. So the National Mayor's Challenge, as you know, we started it well over a decade ago, and it gives mayors an opportunity to use their platform to raise the priority of water in their community, to get people to appreciate it and challenge them to look creatively at how they use water and find ways to conserve and use it more wisely. We often don't realize that we may be generating waste until somebody points it out. So the mayors can do that in their own unique ways. But it brings water agencies and businesses and schools, residents, kids, everybody comes together, and it's a friendly competition. And, it gives them practical actions that they can take at home to save water. So This year in 2026, our winners were City of Laguna Beach, which is a perennial winner, Napa in California, Athens, Georgia, Mesa, Arizona, where we went last year, Rob.
Yeah, I remember that.
And Los Angeles. So Los Angeles came on in a big way this year. Nationwide, our participants in the challenge pledged to save more than 511 million gallons of water, while also reducing pollution and waste and energy use. And that's by looking at different ways they can save water. Simple things that they don't think of, like getting an irrigation audit. You know, people will run their irrigation systems for years, but just the fact by having someone coming out and looking at their system, you not only can save incredible amounts of water, but you can reduce your water bill. It's a really simple thing to do, and just pointing that out to people, they can immediately take action on that. But you know, it's not just about, you know, millions of gallons saved. We're giving cities and agencies a platform to start a conversation with their residents about saving water. You know, we don't presume to know everything that every city knows. They do. All we do is we provide a platform that's trusted. This is completely a nonprofit community service program. We're not selling anything, never have, and I think that's one of the things that people appreciated, that this is really about doing the right thing for everybody and all working together. You know, we use amazing technology, some really cool tools, and they're a lot of fun for people. So, you know, water can be a very abstract topic, but the more personal and relevant that we can make it in their lives, you know, the better chance we have of people actually, you know, taking action that can make our water systems more sustainable. So, you know, I couldn't think of a better example, you guys, than, you know, what's going on with the Colorado River right now. I mean, I think, as you had mentioned, California, Arizona, Nevada, we're looking at a combined reduction of up to 3 million acre-feet per year. And then we have the double whammy of, you know, extreme heat, and we've got population growth, and, you know, we have to adapt.
Just little things.
I know, right? It is very complex. And when I started getting into this years ago, and as Rob knows, I was a newspaper reporter, and I covered the environment. And the more I looked at water, the more it just became like peeling an onion, because the complexity grew and grew and grew. And I think we're at this nexus where we have to broaden our understanding about that, especially if we want to become more resilient with these changes. And you know, the water industry can't do it alone. You know, we can start building that understanding with, you know, with 10-year-olds, you know, with their families. And we can do it through the Mayor's Challenge. We can do it through our Clean Water Center. There's a lot of ways we can do it. But it is about these partnerships that make such a huge difference. And really, that's our role.
So one thing, just like as a water agency, so prior to this position, I actually did communications for a number of the agencies that you're talking about. I actually designed the East Valley Water District logo back in the day. So that sounds like
you are creative.
Yes, she is.
All my friends. So anyways, one thing that I know that a lot of water agencies, especially the ones who are smaller, they don't have a lot of access to be able to underwrite something like that. Have you guys ever considered doing some sort of workshop or something that would help those kind of smaller groups be able to figure out how to maybe share or do something? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, is there a program like that already exists? Or tell me about that. I know it's not anywhere I've seen, so I'm just asking out of nowhere.
Okay, so there's a lot of ways that we'll do it. You know, we do operate on a sliding scale too, And when the foundation raises money, we raise money to help offset some of those costs. There are external grants, like Met has grant funding. I'm not sure if they still do right now, but it's definitely worth looking into.
Well, just talk to Shivaji. You worked with him at
What's that?
IUA. I said, just talk to Shivaji. He worked with him at IUA. He'll figure out the grant situation.
Exactly. So, you know, we're a relatively small nonprofit. Obviously, we think big, but that's where that creativity comes into place. You know, we write grants, we offset costs, we operate in a sliding scale. We work with water agencies. You know, when they have funds available, they'll say, "Hey, can you come in and provide services in, you know, Victorville or you name it?" Because we really have been in
Palmdale.
Exactly. You know, we serve 12,000 kids alone in spring. So, I mean, we're doing massive outreach, and our system works really, really well. Kids come out, and you know, they have measurable increases in their understanding of how their the impacts of or their behaviors impact our water systems. But that's the thing. There are various grants out there. We subsidize it. If you're a small water agency, just call us and let's put our heads together and see what we can do to serve the people in your community. Because that's what it's all about. Rob knows. He's traveled everywhere with us, and he knows that, you know, our goal is to attack this creatively. But our goal is that we are more resilient, that we can live healthier lives, that we have our resources that are sustainable, and not just for people either, but for our entire ecosystem. Because at the end of the day, you know, we can engineer systems that can approximate our natural ecosystem, but we can't replace it.
No.
You know, so and the Colorado River is a perfect example of that. So we cannot replace that resource. So it's going to take a combination of strategies to be able to adapt to that. But you know, we want your listeners to know that we're here. We're here to provide a service, and we believe that the future is sustainable. So we never approach anything like, oh, this is an environmental problem, that and everybody just shrugs their shoulders and says, yeah, it's a problem. We can't do anything about it. We don't approach it like that, right, Rob?
No, absolutely. Hey, in the 2 minutes we got left, just give it oversight. Everybody's been reading a newspaper about a little kerfuffle that happened, and you guys have followed a little tiny lawsuit for $25 million against somebody for painting over it.
Yeah.
Could you just give a brief 1 minute of what that is so people understand it?
I will, sure. Well, you know, we do paint these murals around the world, and during the World Cup, the FIFA organization came in and painted out the mural that we have there. Just we had no contact with anybody, and we started getting calls from people who said that they were sad to see that mural was being removed. Now, this is a 17,000 square foot mural, and we found out about it at the time that basically it was being painted out. So it did turn into a thing, and we had I think about 3 billion people got interested in that situation. But I can't talk too much about it because it's in litigation. But the bottom line is
fine.
that we're trying to save public art for our communities, and we think it's important because it's one of those things that, again, the more people care about it, the more they're going to work to protect and save it. So.
Absolutely. Well, Steve, we love it. We got to get turning this thing over back to NBC for news for the hour, but we do appreciate that, and thank you for that clarification on what's going on, because people are asking me all kinds of questions of it, and you're a very good friend of mine in Wyland, and I enjoy doing stuff with you, and I'm going to continue always to do that for you. You know that. So again, thanks for coming on the show today and giving us an update. I appreciate it. Anytime you want to come back on, we'll do that. Maybe get one of those cities who won on the radio with us, like we usually do. That'll be great. So I'll leave that to you and talk to Marcia, or Marcy, call me and just let me know what you want to do with that, and we'll do it. So thanks again, Steve. Say hi to your wonderful wife and your kids, and we'll talk to you shortly.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Bye.
All right. Thank you. And for you listeners out there, we have one thing to tell you that's really important is,
if you like green,
you gotta have blue. Don't forget about that. Have a good one. We'll talk to you next week. Please call back and call in and tune us in. We'd love to know that you're there. Thanks a lot. Good evening. Have a great week.
KCAA Loma Linda is sponsored by Teamsters Local 1932, protecting the future of working families.